Eric here with Team Eccentric, bringing you guys a new dual commentary video. This time, it's featuring the decks that were recently profiled. Both of the decks are really fun. This match is actually pretty interesting. If I'm not mistaken, I believe there were a few minor misplays, but nonetheless, the match is fun, and you get to see how both decks work. Unfortunately, I don't think I drew Heatwave in this match, but I go first and activate Pacifist, which is essentially the cornerstone of the deck, and then I set 4 and pass. As you can see, the deck plays a lot of back row. Like you saw in the deck profile, I literally only played 5 monsters in the deck. Now Connor normal summons Goblinberg and attempts the effect, which triggers my Pacifist, which gives me a token. So I get a level 8, 2000 attack point, 2000 defense point token, and then Pacifist also triggers itself where if a normal monster is normal or special summoned on my board, I can add a Phantasm Spiral card from my deck to my hand. So I add the Phantasm Spiral power, which essentially acts almost as a mini evenly matched in the hand. So then he special summons his Trick Clown from his hand. So that's never really the best draw. But as he normal summons it, I activate Phantasm Spiral Battle, I believe it's called, and I destroy the Goblinberg. And then after that, he special summons his Hat Trigger. So then he overlays, and he attempts to go into Minerva. And as he attempts Minerva's effect, I activate Phantasm Spiral Power, which negates the effect and reduces its attack points by 1,000. So he takes 1,000 damage, specials the Trick Clown back. As you can see, Phantasm Spiral is such an impressive deck if you get to go first and get the cards that you want to get. So now he attempts to crash with the Minerva against my 2,000 token, takes 1,000 more damage, and then mills 3, and he mills a Lightsworn, blows up the Pacifist. Or attempts to target the Pacifist using Minerva's effect because he milled the Lightsworn. So it's my turn, I draw, and I activate another Pacifist. What can I say? So from there I go and, as you saw, activate the Pacifist. It's just such a good card. So then I swing over his Trick Clown, takes another 1,000, brings it back. And my back row is essentially stacked right now. You'll see at the end of game 1 the one back row card that kind of blows it out, or blows, it's a blowout card. It's just great. But Phantasm Spirals, honestly, what's great about them is that they're a cheap deck, they're very budget. You don't necessarily need to play cards like Card of Demise in the deck. I mean, it's better if you do, obviously, and I just have True Draco, and that's kind of what I play Demise in, so. But now Connor activates his Solar Recharge, discarding a Lightsworn, draw 2, mill 2, he mills the Fairy Tale Snow. Doesn't really do anything to tokens. Then after that, he activates Charge of the Light Brigade, mills 3, and then adds a Lightsworn. And that's the best thing about Phantasm Spiral 2 is it gets around a lot of generally good strategies. So he normal summons the Lumina, or he normal summons the Lumina, and I saw him warning it. And then there you see, I believe I draw the 3rd Pacifist, that's the one thing about the deck, if you draw multiple of the field spell, it really doesn't do much for you. But so I attack the Trick Clown again, and he takes another 1,000 to bring it back. And from there, it's his turn. So he activates Charge again, mills 3, and then he mills the Wolf and another Fairy Tale Snow. But he adds the Lumina, which I'm assuming is obviously to try and get more resources on the board and try and link climb a little bit. But with the way my deck works, it's just very oppressive with the amount of back row that I play and the different amount of back row that I play. But what else is good about Phantasm Spiral is the fact that their trap cards, the Phantasm Spiral specific traps, almost act like mini evenly matched, as I said in the deck profile. So he normal summons the Lumina, discards the Glow Bulb, it looks like, to special back the Lumina. Yep. So he specials back the Lumina. And then he uses the other Lumina, discards what looks like a Predaplant or for a Scorpio to special summon back Raiden. Yep. And now he's got a field full of monsters, which is hilarious to me because essentially you know, like my cards being all normal monsters, I can literally keep one normal monster on the field and my deck functions in the way that it's optimally meant to. So he overlays into Dynamic Saber Invoker, detaches to special summon his Thousand Blades, he links 4, I believe, into Saryuja here. Yep, he goes into the Saryuja. So he's checking his graveyard for resources and whatnot. But as I was saying, the best thing about the Phantasm Spiral deck, in my opinion, is actually the trap cards. Because of the fact that they act as mini evenly matched, and they can, you know, they can be activated on either player's turn from the hand. As long as you control the field spell and a normal monster, you can activate the Phantasm Spiral traps from the hand and disrupt your opponent's plays. So it's almost like, you know, hand traps, but, you know, they're literally traps. So it's actually pretty good. I really like the deck. It's really fun to play. So he brings back the Trick Clown for 1,000, and then special summons the Thousand Blades. You know, standard LIGHTSWORNS stuff. Activates Solar Recharge, draws 2, mills 2 after discarding Raiden. Special summons the 3rd wolf, I believe. Can't remember if that's the 3rd or the 2nd wolf, but I think it's the 3rd. Raiden's effect to mill Machine Dupe and Soul Charge. Then after that, he'd link 4, well, he links again. I know that he links again, so he links 4. Yep. Link 4s into the, what looks like a Firewall Dragon. Uses Firewall Dragon's effect, or maybe not here. I don't think he necessarily uses Firewall Dragon's effect here, but I know that, like, he tries to set up this crazy board. Brilliant fusions, actually. I activate Olenoides. I am playing Paleozoic in the deck because, being that there are a lot of trap cards, I can trigger the Paleos and they trigger the Pacifist. So he uses Fairy Tale Snow's effect to banish 7 for cost from wherever, and then special summons it. I believe here he's trying to link climb a little bit. So I check his graveyard just to see what else he has, and I see that he has the Glow Up Bulb, he has the Giant Rex, he has a lot of plays he can go off of. And here he drops the, what looks like a Nightmare Cerberus. And then he banishes 7 more, including the Giant Rex, to try and get another monster on the board. So there's the Fairy Tale Snow, and then triggers the Giant Rex. Link summons again. This time he summons the Nightmare Goblin. Fairy Tale Snow again. The Fairy Tale Snow is such a good card. The fact that it doesn't have a once per turn clause, so you can literally do it as many times in a turn as your resources can allow. So it's pretty good. So from there, he activates Glow Up Bulb's effect, and then he link summons once more. And this time he link summons into the Phoenix. And the thing about Phoenix is that it can destroy back row, and I only have 1 back row there. So you know, the fact that he has Phoenix, he also has the Firewall Dragon. You know, there's a lot of stuff he can do here. He uses Firewall Dragon's effect, I believe. He wanted to target my field spell, but he can't. So he targets my token, adds back Card Trooper. Yeah, he adds back the Card Trooper, the Raiden, and then he sends back my token. So I have nothing on board, so he can, you know, in theory, kill me right now. But and he added the cards back, so he attempts to go to battle phase, and I flip a Stormy Mirror Force and chain Olenoides. And the thing is he had the Phoenix on board with cards in his hand. He could have made that play, but like I said, you know, minor misplays, wasn't paying attention. As you can see, Connor is not a bad player by any means. It's just, you know, I mean, pay attention to what's in the back row, man. You know, especially considering you had the removal. You had the necessary plays, you know, to actually game me, and he just missed it. I don't think he was paying any mind to back row, because maybe he doesn't think back row is good anymore or something. I don't know. Regardless, he could have won that game easily if he used Phoenix effect. But now we're going to game 2, and now we're siding. The weird thing about Phantasm Spiral in my build, as you saw in the deck profile, is I'm playing like Winter Cherries and a lot of Cherries targets in the extra deck, but I am playing a few cards that you can sort of make. like toads and stuff with the paleos, but generally speaking, like the extra deck isn't really necessary. So like I just play cherries, but the side deck is actually very optimal because being that the deck is very reactive rather than proactive, you can kind of more, instead of having, you're not necessarily siding out like crazy engine pieces and things like that. You can just side out some of your less optimal back row for if you're going second, which in this case I am. You can side it in for either hand traps, or if you're going into, say, for example, game 3, you can side in cards for going first again. That would specifically work in that matchup. I don't know, like Phantasm Spiral is really fun, and it's just very easy to play, honestly, especially in a format like this. As long as you can manage to win a die roll and go first, and you play at least remotely optimal back row, you can definitely take people by surprise and win games. But if you guys want to check out the deck profiles, I'm actually going to leave the links in the description boxes below. I know I said that in some deck profiles before, and I never got around to it, but I will be leaving the deck profiles in the description boxes from now on if I mention it. But now we're going into game 2, and this time Connor goes first. So he activates Brilliant Fusion, and I chain the artifact Lancia because I figure his deck banishes a lot, and stopping that early on prevents him from making like extra link plays and things like that, because his Fairy Tale Snow doesn't really function. So summons out the Seraph Knight, sending the Raiden and the Garnet, and just reading over Lancia just to make sure of certain things. He normal summons Card Trooper, and then he gets the additional normal summon for Lumina, and uses Lumina's effect to bring back the Raiden. And you get the Glow Up Bulb off of Lumina, which is really good. Mills off of, I believe he's milling off of Card Trooper, and then after that he milled off of Raiden. And at this point, because he can't really banish, I believe he's stuck. I think he's kind of like thinking about what he can do here, considering that a lot of his plays have been kind of limited. So he link summons into the Saryuja, as per the usual. That's kind of what his deck is. It's Lightsworn Yuja Turbo until he gets into his extra link plays. That's basically what his deck is. It's still a good strategy, however. So he ditches the Raiden off the Solar Recharge, and then he manages to get out a Trick Clown, so he takes 1,000 damage. And even though he can't make crazy plays with like Fairy Tale Snow, even if he does mill it, he can at least like set up for next turn and kind of have it function to stop my normal monsters, given I draw one. I do play a very low monster count in this deck. It's just not one of those decks that you want to play a high monster count in, especially considering just the way the deck functions. And also, and he goes into the Omega, and now on my turn he activates Omega on my normal summon, and he manages to banish my Phantasm Spiral Battle. So I normal summon the Megalomasher X, set 3, and pass, and then the Omega comes back, which puts a card back in my hand. He activates Charge of the Light Brigade, mills 3, and there's the Fairy Tale Snow. He adds the Raiden, however you pronounce it. I pronounce it Raiden, but I activate the Canadia in order to attempt flipping the Omega. He attempts to chain, and then I chain my Phantasm Spiral Power, which negates it. So it's like a breakthrough skill in a sense. The thing about the Phantasm Spiral trap cards is that, like I said, you can activate them from hand if you have the field spell. Unfortunately, I didn't have the field spell at that point, obviously. So I activate Skill Drain before he can flip his monster, and then chain the Canadia. He flip summons the Omega, activates the Solar Recharge, ditching the Raiden, draw 2, mill 2, he mills the Wolf, and he puts it in that zone. Sometimes he overthinks his plays a little bit. Normal summons his 1,000 Blades, or special summons his 1,000 Blades rather, sorry, off of Saryuja's effect. and he beats over the cards I control. And then goes in and attacks me directly. A lot of damage here. And then I believe he Fairy Tale Snows it for game 2. So that's game 2. Game 2 was definitely in his favor to begin with, being that he started first. A, and B, that essentially I didn't see the field spell, because the field spell, I will say, is kind of the linchpin to the deck in a sense. You definitely want to see it at least at some point in the game. You know, it's one of those cards where if you don't see it, you're gonna have a hard time. It's just the game's not gonna be as optimal. You're just not gonna generate as many resources as quickly as your opponent might, depending upon what deck they're playing as well. I mean, obviously the game is all relative. You know, everything is all based upon, everything is very anecdotal, I suppose I'd say. You know, every situation is very niche usually, and things like that, depending on the matchups and depending upon what plays are made. But with all that being said, there are still kind of assumptions you can make, with certain decks, and this deck is one where if you don't see the field spell, it's going to take you a lot more effort and a lot more, play structuring and kind of like structuring and planning out your plays accordingly. It's just one of those decks that you want to really pay attention with, I suppose I'd say. So now we get started on game 3. And as you can see, I go first. I drew very optimal hands, so I activate the field spell, set 3, and pass. The best thing about the field spell, I love that it generates you a token. So he activates the charge of the Light Brigade, mills 3, and he didn't mill the best, but regardless, he has the Lumina. And like I was saying, now it generates a token which triggers itself. It's almost like Curious, actually, in where its own effect triggers itself for you to add a Phantasm Spiral card from your deck to your hand. And here I believe I add Phantasm Spiral Battle, figuring that he may want a Brilliant Fusion, in which case I can chain and destroy it, and then he adds his Hat Tricker off of banishing the Damage Juggler. So, as you can see, my hand isn't so bad. I did draw the Phantasm Spiral Dragon, which is essentially the win condition of the deck. He adds another charge, or activates another charge, rather. It's LIGHTSWORNS just mill too quickly. They're just so good. But I activate Mind Crush. I set it in the Mind Crushes, and I called Lumina. I figured that would be a good size. So he shows me his hand. There's 2 Luminas in there, and now there are none. I figured that would definitely at least limit his plays substantially, actually, because I mean, Lumina being essentially the inherent monster born of the deck. So he activates Solar Recharge, ditches Wolf, draws 2, mills another Recharge, and a 3rd Lumina, so he has no more Luminas at this point. And that, to me, is great. So he normal summons Goblin Bird, and I activate Skill Drain. So I pay 1,000, and now no monster effects can be activated. And then he special summons the Hat Tricker. I actually thought that under Skill Drain, Goblin Bird would still switch to defense, but I was wrong about that. So he summons the Minerva, and he attempts to crash against my token, and then he uses Minerva's effect, and he uses Trick Clown, which I could have summoned out another token, but no, it's my turn. Like I said, I could have summoned out another token, but I wasn't thinking about it at that point necessarily. So, like I said, we both made some misplays. It happens, guys. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not that serious. Don't crucify people because of Yu-Gi-Oh! So I pass my turn, and he summons the Fairy Tale Snow, I believe. And then he attempts to go in for some damage. So I've taken 1,000, then I've taken the 1850 from the Fairy Tale Snow, and then it's my turn. Those Luminas definitely slowed him. The Mind Crush on the Luminas definitely slowed him down. So I normal summon the Megalo Masher, thank goodness. I add the Equip spell. I believe I add the one that adds 500 and then special summons when it destroys a monster by battle. So I activate it on my Megalo Masher X, giving it 500 extra attack points. And then I swing over his Fairy Tale Snow. And that puts a little bit of damage on the board, and then I get to trigger it I get to trigger the equip spell, which allows me to special summon Phantasm Spiral Dragon from the deck and then unequip it from Megalomasher and re-equip it to Phantasm Spiral Dragon. It essentially changes equip targets. So I special summon the Phantasm Spiral Dragon, which puts the equip spell on it, giving it 3,400 attack points in total. Then after that, I Instill in Battle Phase activates Phantasm Spiral Battle to destroy the Trick Clown. And then after that, I attack it, because I believe he just takes the 1,000 to bring it back anyway. So here he activates Brilliant Fusion, which doesn't really do anything for him, from what I'm aware. I mean, all monster effects on the board are negated, so like it doesn't do much except put a guy on the board. And then after that, when he activates the Brilliant Fusion, I trigger and get a token. Sorry about the camera shake, guys. Connor, I don't know, I think he just had like the shivers or something and like jolted the table. But so I special summoned another normal monster, which allows me to add Phantasm Spiral Battle from my deck to my hand. That mini evenly matched, I suppose you could call it. It's just so good. And another thing about the Phantasm Spiral traps is that they have graveyard effects where you banish them and you can like do things with equip cards from the graveyard in hand or re-equip them to different monsters mid-battle phase. But his send for Brilliant Fusion was a wolf and the Garnet, so he special summons the wolf. And he has both Seraphonite and Wolf on board, normal summons Raiden. I activate Phantasm Spiral Battle on the Raiden to try and get it off board. He Fairy Tail Snows, banishes the 7 for cost. He sends Giant Rex as well, so essentially he's getting more resources on the board. Probably going to try and at least clear my board out a little bit. If not that, then at least gain some resources. Which doesn't, it doesn't necessarily help him only because of the fact that Skill Drain is on board. But he link summons into the Borolo Dragon, which is a really good card, but it doesn't do anything if Skill Drain is on board. I mean, all of its effects are negated, so it's literally just kind of 3k body at this point. I mean, my board is absolutely stacked right now. So he tries to crash over the Megalomasher X, which is fine with me. I let it happen. And from here I draw. I activate the Fossil Dig, which gives me another Megalomasher X, which gives me another search. So I add the Megalomasher X, and then I normal summon it, which gives me another add for Phantasm Spiral card. So I add Phantasm Spiral Power, which is the one that reduces by 1,000 and negates effects. And then after that, I swing over his Boroload with my Phantasm Spiral Dragon at 3,400, and then trigger the equip spell, and then just go in for game. I believe that's game. Yep. And then I would, so essentially, like I was explaining to him after he conceded the game to me, that I could have increased all of my monsters. I also had Storming Mirror Force again. That card is great. But thank you guys for watching. Eric here with Team Eccentric, and I'm signing out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comment section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and Team Eccentric out.